evolving digital landscape, for your business to thrive, you must adapt or die. Welcome to Marketing in the Age of AI, the podcast helping you harness the power of AI and marketing tools to revitalize and grow your business. And now here's your host, marketing expert and author of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI, Emmanuel Rose.
Well, welcome to another edition of Marketing in the Age of AI. I have the pleasure of introducing Sani Abdul-Jabbar, and we're going to be talking about strategy and how to leverage AI in all things that you're doing. Welcome to the show, Sani.
Thank you, sir. Glad to be here.
And it looks like I'm having the tech difficulties on my side right now, but we're gonna keep pressing on.
It's all right. People's tech difficulties is my job security.
Yeah, all right. Well, that's awesome. Well, will you share a little bit about your background and what you're doing now with that background?
Okay. So I've been in the emerging tech space for about 17 years. Many years ago, I started my career in corporate finance, worked for large corporations, Toyota, Warner Brothers, Canon, Sony, and others. And so what I was doing is I was doing something called corporate process optimization, which is basically a fancier way of saying jobs elimination. So did that for a while, and then someone brought to my attention that this is not really the best way to earn living when you're killing people's jobs. So that kind of triggered a thought that I needed to do something that created economic opportunities instead of taking jobs away. Tech was something that I had been working in. Tech was something I kind of understood. So that's when I started a company called Vestech back in 2007 with the intention that it will always be involved, get engaged in projects that create economic opportunities. And also the focus was on the emerging tech. So emerging tech, as you know, the definition of the word emerging tech changes quite frequently. In the past, it used to be, a couple of years. Now it's 14, 16 months on average.
Yeah.
Right. So last year we were talking about blockchain. Now we're talking about AI. And I think by the end of this year, there's another technology coming down the pike that we're going to be talking about. So it's the rapid change that keeps it very exciting. And we're always on the cutting edge of whatever is happening in the marketplace.
Well, that's amazing. So are you going to just tease us with what's coming in your view in the next period, or are you going to let us in on the secret?
Well, so whenever I'm asked about predictions, a lot of the time when you talk to futurist type individuals, they'll tell you what's going to happen 100 years, 200 years down the road.
Right.
I can say whatever. I'll be dead by then. You can't come back and hold me accountable.
Yeah.
I am more interested in 5 to 10 years horizon. And the reason for that is, as business leaders, as your audience, which is primarily people in the mid-sized businesses, small to mid-sized businesses, for them, next 5 to 10 years is important, because if they know what to expect in the next 5 to 10 years, they can make decisions today, adopt technologies today, and so on. So that's what I'm interested in. And my approach to look at this sort of forecasting is looking at how the world is expected to look like 10 years into the future, and then working backwards from there. Uh-huh. So when you look at 10 years into the future, lots of the experts, they agree that we are looking at a whole lot more virtual world 10 years down the road.
Like so metaverse virtual, VR virtual? What does that mean, Sani?
We may or may not know that yet. Metaverse was a sort of a glimpse of that future.
Yeah.
But I don't think we have the technologies yet to define exactly how that future is going to look like. What we do know that it's going to look a whole lot more virtual. Now, virtual could mean in a metaverse type environment. It could mean in a in a VR type environment, which is metaverse anyway. Could be some other sort of technology, could be even avatar type technology where some representatives of us, it can be, pieces of software, for example, that might be representing us in different environments. So that's the future we're looking at. Now, to get to that future, there are certain technologies that need to evolve before we get there.
Sure. Yep.
Simplest thing, electricity, for example. Last year, I was in a conference with Microsoft, and one of the presenters, they mentioned that in 2023, 3% of the world total electricity production was being consumed by emerging technologies. And they said by the end of 2024, they were expecting between 6 and 8% of world's electricity production to go into emerging tech. Now that trajectory is not sustainable. In order to get to a point where we have enough power to run these machines, to work with emerging tech, we need to find ways where we can produce cheaper electricity, cheaper power. So
Right.
that's one. When we talk about evolution of technology, it's not just the technology itself that's evolving, it's the whole ecosystem that's evolving, right? So electricity being one of them. Then data, processing and storage. That has to get even more cheaper than where we are today and
Yeah.
whole lot more. So that's another technology. Then you have cybersecurity. That's a big one. Cyber crimes and now AI-powered cyber crimes, they're on the rise, and they're quite interesting and smart how they're doing it. We can talk about some of those stories if you like. So that's kind of where we're headed. And to answer your question, what sort of technologies we'll be talking about by the end of this year, early next year, is going to be one or many of some of these technologies that I mentioned. And bunch of other tech that's going to lead us towards that future down the road, the virtual future, 10 years down the road that I anticipate.
Yeah, I think you bring up a couple of really interesting points. One, the virtuality or virtualizing of these interactions, right? We've seen that the software to generate deep fake videos or avatars of each of us. We could be avatars right now talking to each other.
Mm-hmm.
That is in the marketplace now and will only get better. So there is that in the near, to me, in the next 12 months, there will be avatar to avatar conversations where we get the meeting notes about what was discussed.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So to some degree, we are already doing that. I use a tool that's a meeting notes tool, and it gets added to all my calendar invites automatically.
Sure.
If I miss a meeting, I'm sure you're familiar with some of those tools. Otter comes to mind. That's one of them, and there's several other.
Yep.
So if I miss a meeting, the tool takes notes. Now, in the past, those notes used to just end up on my, somewhere in my cloud storage and only used as reference as needed. But now, by the time meeting ends, the notes get summarized and action items get listed, and everything ends up in my inbox. Right. So I don't have to sit through an hour-long meeting. I can just read, 1 or 2 paragraphs of notes, and I know exactly what took place. So we are kind of already sort of moving in that direction.
Yeah, and there's a really interesting tool that not only will it take your meeting notes, but you can set it up for the whole company. And so it becomes a management tool, right? Where then all the meeting notes from all the meetings are delivered and content is trended and summarized, and executives can see how the directives or objectives are being met in daily operations, for lack of a better word.
Right, exactly. So, and another use case of that tool in the past, and we're still doing it to some degree, we would go into corporations and we would set up something called innovation centers or innovation labs. The idea was we would bring experts from different parts of the company and have them talk to each other, break down the silos within corporations, and have subject matter experts from different verticals within the organization talk to each other and come up with innovative ideas. The way that worked, we'd have tons of meetings. We did a project in 2018. There were exactly 100 meetings that took place in order to come up with a list of suggestions, recommendations on the innovation subject. So 100 meetings, 100 sets of notes, 100 summaries, and then combining all of that to avoid overlap.
Yep.
That took months upon months of work by dozens of people.
Yeah, that's amazing how quickly you could do that today.
Exactly. The tool that you mentioned, just deploy that across all those meetings.
Yeah.
And by the end of the meeting, you'll have notes, and not only from that meeting, but how they relate in the context of all other meetings on that subject.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It is. It is. And it is. It's where the tool replaces human effort that is non-creative human effort.
Mhm.
So to me, it's a highly valuable application versus the fear of people losing their jobs because of it. Well, you're taking away work that's just tedious and non-creative at that point.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's the tedious work that's going away. I have heard this statement, and it's been repeated many, many times, that AI is not out to get our jobs. It's other people who get comfortable and expert in using AI tools. They are the ones who are coming after our jobs. So that puts responsibility on our shoulders to develop our skills in those areas. Within my organization, we'll go deeper into it, but I do want to highlight one thing. Whenever we talk about any new technology, I've been doing it for 17 years, where every couple of years the emerging tech changes and we have new shiny object, and everybody wants that.
Right. Yeah.
Right. The statements that I hear: I want to deploy AI throughout my organization. I want to deploy blockchain throughout my organization. I want to deploy, before that was mobile apps, before that ERP systems and something else.
Right.
It's always something new, right?
Yep.
And my response always have been, instead of going after the new shiny object, think about the use case.
Sure.
Does it even make sense for you? And there might be situations where it doesn't make sense at all. Right.
Yeah,
and
right.
and we may have to push back. So in the context of AI, for example, data is the lifeblood of AI. And if you don't have good data, either your own or acquired, there's not much I can do for you.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. So, it was business intelligence. That was also one of the big fads, right? All the BI stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Yep. So you're primarily on the IT and operations side, but are there marketing AI tools that you're working with or implementing on behalf of clients or for your company?
So Vestec is a IT consulting firm. We provide advisory and software development, custom software development services. So usually what happens is that clients come to us looking for specific solutions to specific problems. And they usually need integration of some sort, of implementation of some sort. If it's a third-party tool, they don't need to come to us in most cases.
Yeah.
But it's the implementation, integration, or digital transformation. Those are the scenarios where we get pulled in. And the need for technical experts to implement AI is on the rise. And the reason for that is, one is generalized use of AI tools. So for a common tool, for example, ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Both you and I have access to it. $20 a month, we can get even subscription. If you and I both have access to it, it's not a competitive matter of competitive edge for either of us, because we both have access to it.
Right.
It becomes a matter of competitive edge if I can train that tool on my proprietary data, internal data that I acquired, through loyalty programs or customer history or whatever, interviews, whatever that might be. Because if only I have access to that data and I can train that LLM on that data, but you don't have access to that data, now I have a competitive advantage.
Yeah, I get it.
Right. So that's where companies like ours, they come into play, where we can train AI for your specific needs based on your specific data. So the output that's coming out, it's rooted in your experience, in your brand voice, in your history with your clients and customers. That's where we come into play. The other is big question that's often asked. I want to invest in AI. I want to use AI in our company, but I don't know where to start. So
Right.
we go in, we study their whole process flow and look for opportunities. Generally speaking, wherever you have the cleanest data available, that's the first place where we're going to go after, because that's the low-hanging fruit. So we come in that case, in an advisory role, study their whole process flow, study their whole infrastructure, and see where the opportunities lie, where we can increase the outcome, the performance by using these tools.
Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, that you have to have a clear need and you have to have good data. and then you've got a project to work with versus just having the next shiny thing.
Precisely. I mean, it's the good old people. What was that? People process platform model.
Right. Yeah.
So whenever we look for digital transformation for any company, these are the areas where we looked at. Do people need to be trained? Do processes need to be revised? Do platforms need to be upgraded? And that's where you look for opportunities.
Well, let's talk about this security, because there have been a number of high-level security breaches that have gotten some pretty big press over the last few months, but even the last few weeks, right? We've got Live Nation. We just saw that. We got Bank of America. I think we had AT&T before that. So it's kind of like once a week we're getting these giant breaches of some sort. And how do companies of all sizes manage the assets they have in order to stay safe?
So cybersecurity has become increasingly challenging and interesting. Tech companies, they keep coming up with tools, and the bad guys, they keep coming up ways to circumvent that.
And the bad guys seem to be one step ahead at this point.
They're always one step ahead. Especially in this part of the world, laws and regulations are made after a crime is committed, right?
Yes.
Not before. So yeah. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but that's kind of the approach. So we don't have enough regulations yet to protect us against these very advanced forms of cybercrime. In February, there was a case in Hong Kong where an employee was duped into sending, I think, $24 million. I might be wrong about the number. But the guy was tricked into sending money to an external account from the company, and he was supposedly, quote unquote, advised by the CFO to move the money on a Zoom call. And I did the quotes because the CFO was an avatar, was a deep fake.
Wow.
Right? The CFO was a deep fake, and the CFO, the supposed CFO, had advised the victim to invite few of their other colleagues on the call, so there are witnesses that the CFO actually advised the victim to move the money.
Wow.
So he did invite other people, and the other people did come, except the other people were also deep fake avatars. So on this call, the only one person that was real was the victim. And he moved the money out. The company is unnamed. We still don't know it. At least I don't know, but the news is legitimate. I just read a story this morning, which I found very interesting and a good case study in how, or one of the ways at least, to deal with these cyber crimes type situations. An executive at Ferrari received a message on WhatsApp, I believe, supposedly from their CEO, saying that, "Oh, I'm in the middle of an M&A deal, and I might need your help, but it's very high stakes and very hush hush. Therefore, you're going to have to sign an NDA first. So look out for an NDA from our legal." The guy received an NDA. And then it said, click here to sign whatever. But for some reason, something happened, and this executive, he got suspicious. So he said to this supposed CEO, he's like, "I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to validate your identity. Can you tell me the name of the book that you recommended to me to read last week?"
Yeah.
And the guy on the other end, it was on a WhatsApp call. It's like a verbal call. So even the voice was duplicated, and the messages are duplicated, and the numbers are spoofed. All of that. As soon as the executive asked that question, the guy on the other end hung up and never came back. And of course, the executive went to the CEO directly in person, asked if he was trying to get him to sign something. He's like, "No, I didn't." So that's how he was able to avoid becoming a victim. So to answer your question, what can be done about it? As always, it's regulation, it's education, it's social engineering.
Amazing.
Right? Regulation is always going to be slow. So we can't count on that.
Yep.
In the AI space, the first region of the world that came up with a decent set of regulations is EU. Back in January, I believe they passed a bill that created some set of rules and best practices and laws around that based on the risk factor involved in an AI technology. from no risk to unacceptable risk. And there are total five levels. China has done something similar. In the US, we don't really have a comprehensive set of rules and regulations. So industry is trying to do what they can. California has introduced a few years ago, actually, GDPR type rules that can help us to a degree in the AI in the AI era as well. And the most important, and I think the most effective method is the social engineering part, because the bad guys usually use social engineering in combination with tech tools, and that's how they're so effective. So what the Ferrari guy did is like, tell me the name of the book that, of course, only the CEO knew the name of the book, because those were the only two people who had that conversation one-on-one.
Yeah, it's like a secret password between.
Secret pass, yeah. Something that can be validated like this. That can be a good one. We had a situation actually not too long ago, a few months ago. So I'm involved in another company as well that deals in commodities, physical commodities. So the deal size tend to be much, much larger than in the tech world. We received a document that I was supposed to, as a managing partner, I was supposed to sign that document, and something raised a red flag. I contacted I responded to that email saying that, can you confirm, asking my partner.
Right.
Can you confirm? Supposedly the email had come from my partner, and I received a response saying, yes, I confirm you need to sign this document. Then I sent the same message to my partner on another channel, on Slack or something.
Right.
And he's like, nope, I didn't send you anything like that. And in that case, there were hundreds of millions of dollars involved in that deal.
Yeah. And they had spoofed the email address, and the
email address was spoofed. Well, when I looked closely, there was a minor spelling change,
right,
which I wouldn't have noticed otherwise.
Yeah.
So like number 1 was changed to letter I. So very close. Yeah.
So
L was changed to 1. Yeah, very close.
So it comes down to basically paying attention to every interaction and validating anything that's an important transaction. It has to be validated and verified more than one way, essentially.
Yeah. So we use a method in especially in the fintech space. We have used this method for many years. That's called what is it called? Off-channel, off-band verification, I think it's called, off-band verification. So the idea is that we don't verify the identity of the other party on the same channel where we are interacting with them already.
Okay, yeah.
We always go off-band. So if I'm interacting with you on, let's say, on this platform, and I need to verify something, I'll send you a text message, or I'll send you an email, or maybe call you, right? So always try different channels instead of just one channel. And another problem is that these days, a lot of these communication tools, they get integrated with each other. So for example, if you're using Google Suite in your organization, your chatting is also going to be within Google Suite. Your phone calls may also be within Google Suite. Your email may also be within Google Suite, right? So that's not off-channel. If you want to go off-channel, you have to get outside that environment and use something completely different to verify.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's a new process that I haven't heard before, so I like that. I appreciate that.
These are not quite new processes. They've been around. We just need to repurpose them. Right.
Yeah. And so that's just interesting that of all the software attacks and solutions that we have, and it kind of comes back to being careful and actually just creating a 2-factor authentication program for your communications that are important.
Absolutely. I mean, look, every new technology is going to go in a couple of places first. We know that. I've seen that over and over in the last 17 years. It's always going to go to adult entertainment first, defense, and crime. These are the 3 things.
Right.
You can look back 100 years if you want. Like every new technology goes to these places first.
Yeah.
Which is not such a bad thing, because what happens is that when the technology goes in these very high-profile places, so it creates a lot of noise. It gets a lot of attention from people, from investors, from technologists. So because of that hype that comes out of these industries, crime industry or adult entertainment or defense, That hype then helps bring more investment and more tech and more know-how into the industry.
Yep.
And then you develop it, evolve it, and bring it to mainstream businesses or individual use. So that kind of has been the trend almost, at least in my entire professional career, that I've seen over and over.
Oh, that's an interesting perspective on it. And we're reaching close to the end of our time. I'm just wondering what kind of advice you would give to business owners, CEOs, marketers about just the how to integrate the AI into their marketing campaigns, into their businesses, and what kind of structure they should be implementing.
Well, a couple of things. So we spend quite a bit of money into market research, custom market research every year to see how the tech landscape is shifting, because emerging tech in the space in which we work, it's rapidly shifting market environment. So we have to stay ahead of the game. Last year, we got a study done, and we found out that close to 80% of CEOs, they understood, they believed that within the next 10 years, AI is going to become a matter of do or die. You either use it and survive, or don't use it and perish.
Yep.
Less than 4% of the same CEOs were actually actively investing and taking actions, significant actions, to adopting these technologies for their businesses. The primary reason why the difference between 4% and 80%, it was fear of the unknown, something new. No one likes new.
Right.
It's scary.
Yeah.
So we kept saying, well, you got to talk to people who do this day in and day out. I have a bunch of smart people in my organization who can answer questions like, where to start, and do I have good data to use AI, or is AI even a good technology for me to invest in or not? They can easily answer these questions, but this is what they do all day long. Now, something happened between November of 2022 till now. November of 2022 was when ChatGPT came out and AI became, living room conversation topic.
Yep.
It wasn't until then. AI, that's not the day when AI was invented. AI has been around for a long time.
Sure.
We did a major project back in 2015 in AI. That was our first large project in the AI space. However, now what I'm seeing now within the last couple of months is that AI has gone from the dating and honeymoon stage, and now it's at the making babies stage.
Yeah.
I
like that.
For better analogy, that means real interesting and smart projects are coming on my radar, which are AI powered. Things that it was like so obvious. Why didn't we think about it? And someone comes along and they're like, "Can you do this?" And we're like, "Oh yeah, let's do it." Fun stuff.
Right.
So I'm seeing a lot of that now. What that means, and also a lot of money flowing into this space.
Sure.
A lot of investor money.
Yep.
So when you have a lot of investor money coming in and you have lots of good ideas coming in, now you don't have time to wait and see what's going to happen as a business leader. You have to adopt those technologies, because your competitors are doing it right now. And
the race is on. Yep.
The race is on, right? The race is on. So now, so that's first thing, the sense of urgency. That's what I'm trying to communicate here. Sense of urgency. The race is on.
Yep.
The second thing is, as boards, board members or top level decision makers, they need to dedicate time in their board meetings or an equivalent of that. Smaller businesses may not have a board, but whatever the equivalent version of that sort of process they have, they need to put aside some time where they discuss how these new emerging technologies can save their businesses going forward. I'm using the word save on purpose. It's not just a matter of how to make you more efficient. Now it's a matter of survival.
Interesting.
Right? You have to dedicate funds for that. You have to dedicate time for that. And most importantly, don't just get excited about the new shiny object. Think business case. What do you have a compelling business case? And if not, we got to look for that. I can guarantee you, every decent sized business can gain, without even putting too much effort into it, they can gain between 15 and 17% efficiency improvement by using these new tools.
Yeah.
Now imagine if you actually sit down, set aside some time and budget, and actually study your entire processes and see where the opportunities lie, and then bring these technologies mindfully into the business. Right? These are some of the things I would like to leave your audience with.
Well, I think that's a very salient point, and it's that to look and see where the gaps are in the business, in marketing, or somewhere in operations, and say, how do we fill this problem? Answering the phone, or website traffic, or copywriting. How do we solve these problems with AI, and then go and test some tools and see what the implementation looks like? So,
yeah, and talk to somebody like you who can teach them about generative engine optimization as opposed to search engine optimization. Right. So that's a new thing that we have to understand now in the new world of AI marketing.
Yeah, I just saw that OpenAI has got their first search engine online now, and so that will be a whole new area for marketing to vector into. So,
I know our time is running out, but I want to raise a question actually for you. Right. So I was reading up on it, generative engine optimization, and some of the advice, like how to optimize your website for generative engine optimization, it sounded very much like early days of SEO.
Yes, it is. It is just around what I call seeding the GPT. Right, we're purposefully developing content that is easy and based on keywords and PR for companies to be able to find us because they're doing a product search or a service search, and we want the GPT to come back with those keywords for that search.
So it looks like at this stage it's a low-hanging fruit. A friend of mine who is a well-known dentist, a really good one, very successful dental practice. If you search for the top dentists in Los Angeles, his name comes up on in these LLM models.
Nice.
Right. And so the point being, low-hanging fruit can be easily done if you know what you're doing. So people need to come out and talk to somebody like you and leverage these new technologies.
Like you said, the race is on, and my feeling is that if your organization is not identifying gaps and testing solutions, then you will be out of business in 5 years because it's moving very quickly.
Absolutely.
Well, Sani, I really appreciate your time and your thoughtful answers and your expertise. You are a true professional with a wealth of experience, and I feel very grateful to you for spending time with me today.
Thank you so very much for inviting me. It's been fun.
And if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to track you down online?
LinkedIn is the best way to reach me. I share quite a lot of content every week on LinkedIn. Please get in touch. And it's just my name, Sani, S-A-N-I.
And that'll be in the show notes, so people will be able to find you that way.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, and I hope you have a very good week in the real world, not in the virtual world.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Marketing in the Age of AI. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Your copy of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI is available at Amazon.com or EmmanuelRose.com. You can also connect with Emmanuel on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening,